Hello, Philip Mountrose here with my wonderful wife and partner, Jane Mountrose.
Hi, everybody.
And we're here for an overview of the heart and soul of spiritual holistic coaching and healing, which is part of the upcoming online coaching and healing certification program. Uh, and we've been in the field, Jane and I, holistic field for about 3 decades now as coaches and healers and personal transformation pioneers. And we've helped a lot of people connect with their heart and soul, and that's our mission. So they can help themselves and do their mission and help the planet. And for us, it took a lot of trial and error, but we're glad we kept following our hearts and kept going. And there were some leaps of faith along the way to get to this point where we can teach the heart and soul of coaching and healing and what works and what doesn't work. And so today for the webinar, you're going to get some keys and some inspiration to go forward, and we'll show you how you can develop more self-mastery. Um, and we know that the world is heating up. We're in a time of great transition and crisis, a lot of imbalance, a lot of stress and anxiety and burnout out there and division. So it is easy to get overwhelmed. We understand that. And times I'm not sure if I should cry or laugh or both or something else. But today, with what we're going to share here, it's going to give you a lot of tools and insights and confidence to make positive change in your life, which can and will ripple out into the world. And wonderful possibilities and results can occur. And for Jane and myself, we started off looking for more depth, more spiritual awareness, more enlightenment. Years ago, we met in a Gurdjieff Ouspensky, a psychological spiritual group in our 20s. And that really took us to learning quite a bit about coaching, but not enough about healing, which led us to learning more about healing after we left that group, and hypnotherapy. And we explored coaching and channeling and many methods as we started our own programs and consultations. Our regular jobs, Jane was an architect, I was an educator, but we burnt out of those jobs, and some of you may relate to that, and eventually went in part-time and full-time into what we're doing here over the years. And with the right tools and knowledge and support, wonderful things will happen in your life. And that's the challenge most people have. Why do many people not get too far? It's because they don't have the right knowledge, tools, and support to follow through. Because, as you know, in the holistic field, we're kind of going beyond the status quo and the mainstream reality out there. And in this webinar, we're going to do a powerful demonstration of how to do more soul coaching and healing. So stay tuned for that coming up as well. So Jane, do you want to mention a little bit about the wheel, rather the transformational triad here?
Yeah.
Part of our teaching.
Did you have the image for it?
Yeah, let me put it up here.
I think it's easier to understand understand it with the with our there it is. We teach 3 courses in this program, and they address what we look at as the big questions. So you could say the big questions are, who am I, which relates to self-development, why am I here, which relates to purpose development, and where am I going, which relates to dream development. And these 3 aspects of our reality or our consciousness actually come from the depths of our heart. There is actually a 3-fold flame in the heart that is, it has the 3 parts are power, love, and wisdom, which relate directly to these 3 areas and the 3 courses. So the one we're actually going to be teaching next is the heart and soul of coaching and healing, which is self-development. And then we go into the next one after that will be on purpose development, which is awaken to your true purpose. And then the other one is realize your dreams, which is our manifest your dreams course. So all of them, the 3 together create a synergy that allow you to enjoy life to the fullest. You could say also experience life to the fullest, to realize your full potential. So it's not just like many coaching and healing kinds of programs are a lot of techniques, but maybe not much bigger picture. This one has both in our training, and it comes from, I think, our almost insatiable curiosity about what makes things work and how we can go further. I think after all these years, we still feel like we're growing quite a bit and we're exploring new things all the time. So it's exciting for us. And I think that part of it too is exciting, I think, for our students because it's fresh.
It is.
Yeah.
It's always fresh. One of our students, Jen Peters from actually New Zealand, who took our course, sort of summarized this material that you're learning today that we're introducing you to, giving you an overview. After she said, I spent 2 years searching for these courses. I knew I was looking for something, but wasn't sure what until I came across them. It's helped me enormously. And I'll give you the quote. It's helped me enormously and in unexpected ways. It provides structure to an area that is traditionally quite ethereal and difficult to put into meaningful processes. I don't know of any other courses even remotely like these. With the scope they have, the program's literally ignited the light within. It's for anyone who is seeking a deeper understanding of who we really are and what we're here to do. These courses are the bridge into the bigger picture for those who have an awareness that there's more to life than meets the eye. And over the years, and we've been offering this and developing this program for over 2 decades, the kinds of people who take it are healthcare workers, could be traditional, alternative business people, educators, teachers, coaches and healers who really want to go much deeper in their training, artists, authors, speakers, because some of those things, Jane and I do some of these things as well, where we've written a lot of books, for instance, and just self-taught learners and holistic-minded people. So why do people take it? Well, for deeper personal and spiritual growth. It really is an opportunity to go very deep and comprehensively with a lot of support. And some people, not all, aren't looking to start a practice or a business or just to have more tools and skills for what they want to do or to look for their next step. Like when they get the knowledge and tools and support, it becomes clear where they want to go next. Jane, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, it's always exciting. I think that people generally feel that they get much more than they were expecting from it. And it's one of those things people wonder, well, why a full year of training? And I think that there are a lot of those kind of intense courses, like become a coach in 2 weeks, and you go and you're like 9 to 5 every day for 2 weeks, and you can't absorb it that fast. What we've found, actually, the best way is to be receiving kind of consistent teachings and experience with the teachings and practicing and with working with the other people. It makes a big difference because then you can change happens gradually. It doesn't happen all at once. So it is, well, I guess it's one of those things where it's not a sprint, it's really about how you live your life. And I think that for us too is what really makes it interesting, because we get to watch our students growing over that year, and many of the students experience major changes in their health or their trauma from the past, or many different things that exceed really what they ever thought would be possible.
Business things. And there are a lot of little ahas and transformations and breakthroughs along the way. It is a more of a marathon or a long distance journey. It's a journey, but some amazing things happen even in our teachings when we do the labs and you practice these powerful techniques, and we'll demonstrate one in a few minutes here. And we use what we call a roadmap in our courses. Jane, you want to share the roadmap from which we teach here?
It's called the Heart of Success Roadmap, and we really don't have time to go through it, but it has 7 stages, which are the stages that we go through in the manifestation course, which can be applied really to just about anything. And what you're seeing on the screen is actually the items that are included in the current course, all of the different techniques and checklists and things that people explore. So there's a whole lot there. And I love this course because it gets into the heart and really how everything fits together. I think this is one of the things that has really amazed me about spiritual development and how we're made, is that the journey to our evolutionary journey, you could say, is built right into us. So we talk about how it relates to the chakra system and the energy field, and everything is connected. So it makes sense, not just on a rational level, but you can also understand it in relation to also the parts of the body. All of the parts of the body, everything about us has meaning. Our experiences have meaning. So that part of it is really fascinating. And so I think it really, it can change your perspective on who you are, because all of these resources are there. We need each other to support each other for sure, but the journey is built right into us in our energy system. It's a matter of getting rid of the things that are blocking us and integrating more of the truth of who we are and of our potential. And that's how we awaken.
It is about awakening, and that's the name of our institute, our nonprofit organization, Awakenings Institute.
Right.
We're going to briefly go through the 12 weeks of this Heart and Soul course that's coming up June 13th at this particular time, coming up soon. Just give you an idea of what each week is, and then do that demonstration, the spiritual coaching healing demonstration. So in week 1, we start with an overview of what is spiritual holistic coaching. In other words, the elements of self-mastery, about connecting with the soul and healing and your purpose and helping others in the planet. And one of the tools that we came across, we've just looked at these things for many years, and some of the best things we found is what we teach. And one is this aliveness meter or aliveness indicator, and a way of reaching that is by connecting with the thymus, your gland between your heart and your throat. It can be measured as a state of aliveness and energy, and we go into that, which is quite useful and practical. These things are interesting just as ideas, but we ground them and make things very practical. That's generally why we teach them. It's very experiential. And the process we teach in the first week is called the Heart Focus Process. And it's a simple process. You can do it with anyone at any time, including yourself, to see the state of your heart, not so much anatomically, but just as an awareness of the energy coming from it. And in this process, you picture your heart. And one of our students, I remember Sam, who was a longtime meditator, and he could only get so far meditating. And he realized when he looked at his heart through this heart focus process that he saw some cracks in his heart. And by going further in the process, the holistic spiritual process we did in the class that he also learned by doing it, he realized that had to do with some letdowns and disappointments and relationships he had in his life. And it translated even into his meditation into sort of a heaviness and somberness. And he realized from this that he needed to lighten up, literally lighten his heart and be more playful. And that was a big shift for him. Jane, anything else before we go into week 2?
No, I'm ready for week 2.
Week 2.
So in week 2, we go into what we call the 7 spiritual activations. When we'd been doing this work for about a decade and working a lot with our students and clients, we had a sense of the stages that we go through in our development. And so we started putting them down, and we came up with 7 stages that were based partly on esoteric things like Alice Bailey, some of those very esoteric writings. and also on our own experience. And when we got all 7 together, we realized, well, actually, what it is the 7 stages and activations, you could say, each one comes with an activation of more spiritual light and awareness. They relate directly to the 7 chakras, the 7 major energy centers. And so it starts at the base, and which is the first stage is recognition, kind of like, gee, here I am in this physical world, but there's more going on here. And this is just very brief. we go into it quite a bit in this course. The second one, which relates to the second chakra, is we call it breaking loose. And the second chakra, really, it's about relationships, family, kind of nurturing, and people who are at this stage. A lot of them are parts of communities of people, some with maybe more fundamentalist kinds of religions that they're belonging to. And we call it breaking loose because what it is a process of awakening to the fact that that's not all you are. Relying on someone else for your source is not all you are. You have the truth lies ultimately within you. So breaking loose it's the time when you kind of jump over the fence and really move on into the wilderness, into your own journey, which is the third step of solar plexus chakra, which is about empowerment. So that's about going out and actually exploring who you really are, which maybe you never had an opportunity to do as long as you were following what other people told you should be doing and who you are. So those are the first 3. I'm going to be continuing to go through them as we go through these classes, because the classes in this course also are set up so that we're going through those stages.
Mm-hmm.
And the soul centering is kind of the heart of the course. And we do that process in this in week 2, which is connecting with that truth in your heart and soul. And that was actually the thing that got us into all of this in the beginning, is that we were at that place where we knew that following other people's truth was not really the way. The way is within ourselves. And that's the most powerful healing too. So we'll be going into that too. So the second week, it's very exciting. Each one is exciting.
Right. Yeah, it is very exciting. And you can kind of see that if you know the spiritual stages where you are and where others are, have a sense of them, when you understand it a little bit more, it's very helpful to know how to help yourself, where you are, what your lessons, what you're facing, and how to help other people if you want to become a coach or a healer.
Right.
And that takes us to the next week, and that's week 3. I'll put that up here.
You didn't get to week 2?
Oh, that was week 2 that you did.
Yeah, you didn't get to show week 2. That's okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you did. It was earlier.
Yeah, it was just earlier on.
Oh, you switched back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So week 3, we go into an overview of spiritual kinesiology. We call it SK. What is that? That's actually a system we developed using muscle testing, which is a way of connecting with your responses to anything on an unconscious level. And you may have known, like pressing muscles, there's dozens of ways to muscle test. It's a very versatile tool. And as we mentioned, we've been in the field for 3 decades, and we've discovered a lot of things. And some things we've developed ourselves just because they work or they were our interests, and things that we were here to pioneer. And the spiritual kinesiology system is a very powerful way of healing, of using the soul's energy to, and with muscle testing. Muscle testing is optional, but it's very useful to know it. And one of the things you can muscle test, and which is also very important to know, is what we call the 4 freedoms. The 4 freedoms, and the 4 freedoms are the freedom of autonomy, or your choice of your emotional freedom, what you want to do, the freedom of your time, the freedom of your abundance, your resources that you have available, and the freedom of your location or geography. and all these things, most people don't think about that. They just sort of do their life and kind of say, I'd like to do more of this, or this would be better. But if you have this big picture view and know how to get there, it's very wonderful and transformative.
Mhm.
Jane, add anything else?
Well, that really, it builds on it, that self-empowerment stage about actually exploring more of what you would really want in your life. The four freedoms are, that's one wonderful way you could say of goal setting, of starting to think in a deeper way about all of the things that you would want to create with your life. At that point, when we were looking at the four freedoms initially, we were living in Sacramento, another part of California where we live, and we started thinking in a bigger way than we ever had before. Like, if we could live anywhere we want, where would we live? If we could do anything we want, what would we do? If we could schedule it in the way we want, how would we do that so that we're not working all the time? Because it's interesting, sometimes people might go into coaching and end up having coaching sessions like 40 hours a week, and then they think, well, gee, this is just like a job. Well, there are other ways that you can arrange your life so that that wouldn't have to happen. And so we wanted to build a lot of freedom into our lives, and it happened. So this is I think one of the important parts of your growth is actually having a sense in your heart, like, what is it my heart really wants me to do? I didn't want to be an architect anymore. It was killing me. Literally, I felt like my aliveness was drooping quite a bit. And it turned out this is it, to be doing this coaching and healing kind of work. And after all these years, it's more exciting than it ever has been. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm seeing a response from Mary here about doing sway testing, which is one of the many kinds of muscle testing. Yeah, that's a great way. And there are different ways to effectively muscle test. Yeah, that's for sure.
And that is actually using your whole body, which is interesting. It's another thing about
another way to do it.
Another way to, you're connecting holistic with your body, like which direction is it going to go in
on a deeper level.
And we teach that too.
Yeah, it's very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the next week for Jane, why don't you go into that?
So this one is, we're talking about building confidence, and we're gradually teaching different healing techniques. So anchoring is a concept from NLP that is important to understand in relation to the process that we do, that I'm going to demonstrate in a little while, called reframing and anchoring. We use it to clear blocks, which you might already know you have something, and then you can do it. And maybe you don't know what it is. And that's why we use the kinesiology and checklists. Then you can identify what it is. I think one of the things that really frustrated me early on was sometimes something would be off and I couldn't tell what it is. Like, how can I clear it if I don't even know what it is? And that's where having the kinesiology, and I'll be using something we call the current lesson checklist, which actually helps you to identify where the block is. And then you do the reframing and anchoring, which is, if you know EFT, it's fast like EFT. You can do it in rounds like EFT. And things can shift in, a lot of times, in minutes. So it's a really amazing thing. So we teach that. And it's another way, really, again, as we go into the depth and talking about the stages, looking into stage 4, embracing ourselves and our greatness, releasing some of those limitations on how we feel about ourselves, and building more confidence in ourselves as the magnificent spiritual beings we are. So it all fits into the big picture. And also, as I mentioned, it uses the power of spiritual healing to do it. And healing, which is really about love. Love is the most powerful energy. It is deepest and most effective.
So the program is all about the hands-on experience, the connection, learning the methods, and actually doing them, not just sort of some wonderful ideas, but they actually how to apply them and use them. And that takes some time. And that's why this
Right.
course is a 4-month course, and it's 2 other 4-month courses. That's why it's not a 4-week program or a few weeks. Not that you couldn't get some good things in a few weeks, and you can get quite a bit just today on this overview. But it does take time to gain mastery.
Mm-hmm. And you're reaching deep into yourself.
Yes.
We do meditations every day, and different things come up, and I realize I can only go so far in a day, and then I have to step back and integrate what I'm learning and what I'm observing. So that is a big part of it, is the time, giving yourself time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that takes us to week 5. We go into tips, more of the anatomy of doing muscle testing. Interesting. I'm one of the ladies who is taking our program currently. She took a whole certification in kinesiology, and she's was a therapist. She's retired now, and she said in taking our course, she learned a lot of new things about kinesiology and how to do it effectively. And this is someone who actually was trained in it and had a certification in it. So you learn a lot there. And we had these checklists that are really wonderful. They're magical. You will find hidden things that otherwise you might never be able to find in yourself or someone. We have one is called the basic checklist, and the other one's a current lessons checklist. In fact, Jane will use that a little bit in the demo coming up. But in these checklists, for instance, the basic checklist, one time I did it, is you muscle test different categories. And one is, I remember I did one with a young man one time, and one was like fitness, the fitness of your body. Just say focus on whatever, focus on your heart, focus on your mind, focus on your office, whatever. Focus on the fitness of your body, focus on the sound of your voice. So all these things just have a unconscious reaction by muscle testing, yes or no, strong or weak. And this fellow was quite athletic looking. I mean, it was pretty muscular. He looked sort of like he could be an athlete. So this is interesting about muscle testing. A lot of times the things, quote, you assume are not accurate. So you'd look at him and say, this person must be very happy about his body. A lot of people would love to have such a fit, strong body. So when I tested him, he was very weak. And I tested again, and he was weak again. And I go, I'm wondering what's going on. I asked him, and he said, well, actually, I'm training. I'm doing some athletic training, and my coach has been very critical of me.
Oh.
Yeah. So he actually had some doubts about himself because of this coach and his programming.
Yeah.
Jane, anything else to add about those checklists?
There are even more checklists than those. Those are really
Yeah, those
great
are a
ones
couple
for
of them.
starting. If you're trying to figure something out, like I said, where, gee, I just don't know what it is that's blocking me. Both of those checklists are great for that.
Yeah, invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes us to the next week, which would be the mid 6 of the 12 weeks of this first course. Jane, you want to share about that?
Yeah, so we're going deeper, really deep into the healing now. We also are talking about something we call the Heart of Success Wheel. It's a coaching. There's something called coaching wheels, which you may or may not be aware of, that help. It's another way that you can explore where something is off and where you want to focus your attention. The one that Philip is showing is the Wheel of Life, which is a very common. You can find that coaching wheel online. Probably if you look up the Wheel of Life, there are lots of examples of it. The Heart of Success wheel is one that we developed ourselves, and we have a number of them that we go through in the 3 courses. And then the process that we explore is called the illumination process, or the 7 levels of healing. And that goes into actually healing. If you look at the 7 chakras and the 7 levels of the energy field, dysfunction enters from the outside, and then it gradually works its way in potentially actually that's when it works. It's all the way in. It's affecting physical health. So the 7 levels of healing actually goes through and clears all the levels of it. So it's profound in the wisdom that a person gains from doing it, and also from the depth of the healing. Because if you look, for instance, at allopathic medicine, that's just healing the body like it's a machine. It's not touching the emotional, mental, spiritual, or any of the outer layers, the more spiritual layers of our being. And if you're not touching, if you're not affecting the emotions and the mental level, the thoughts and beliefs, and the spiritual level, which is your sense of self, it can very easily recreate itself. So it's very informative. And in the end, when you clear all those things, it's very transformational and illuminating. That's why we call it the illumination process. So I would say that's one of our more important processes. We teach a lot of processes, but this one, in terms of actually understanding something in great depth, is, I think, a really fabulous one.
Yeah, it can heal physical things as well. We've had a lot of physical healings by using that
Right.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that takes us to week 7, where we cover polarities, understanding body language, and integration meeting. The polarities, it's a yin yang. It's things like, well, you think of north and south and pole, but what we're talking about in the course is on the spiritual level, are things like the masculine and feminine, which everyone has these energies, and spiritual and earthly energies, and past and future energies, and mind-body energies, which actually can be mapped out in the body. And they are part of our everyday life. They permeate us, and we're sort of like the fish in water that we can't see how important these getting these balances is. And we also map out the understanding body language, because things that are happening in different part of your body, as you may know, reflect the psychological issue or split too. So if things are happening more in your head, it could be a mental thing. For example, if it's in the left side of your body, it could be something to do with your feminine, or the right side, your masculine. And so there's different indicators, and even all the organs and so forth are reflective of different issues. And when we do the integration meeting, which is a process, another powerful process we teach, is the different parts, in this case, the polarities, dialogue with each other, including bringing in the soul or a higher awareness to the issue. So for example, one of our students, Marion, she did a integration meeting about starting a business. She was in the corporate world and getting burnt out at the time. And she looked at her masculine side about starting a business, and it was kind of sleeping. It was kind of doing nothing. And she looked, and then she went to dialogue to the feminine side. The feminine side was, why aren't you doing anything? Masculine side, why aren't you, helping? Why aren't you activating? And the soul brought in a sort of a harmony between them, and it had a resolution of being more energized and balanced and clear on a roadmap. And interestingly enough, after the course, she did start her own business. And this was, I don't know, about 20, she was one of our first students over 20 years ago, and developed a successful holistic practice too.
Which she still has. Yeah.
Which she still has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the polarities, if you're really looking into spiritual development too, the polarities are almost a must at a certain point, because particularly, I think, in society, the masculine and feminine, with the huge imbalance between the masculine, how the masculine is being it's overwhelming the feminine, when actually what we need to make our next steps in our development is to develop the feminine. It's very powerful.
It is. And that takes us to the next week in the course, in the 12-week course, and week 8.
And this, of the 3 courses, this is the course where we go the most into relationships. So there are a few different things that we go into over a period of weeks here. And talking about shifting from a codependent approach to other people, from that to an interdependent approach. In other words, where everyone has integrity within themselves and also honors the integrity of the others. This, you could relate this to the fifth stage of development, especially, which is sovereignty. Many of these things relate to, it's not just that stage. I think relationships are important probably in almost all the stages, but the fifth stage and sovereignty, it relates also to the throat, being able to express ourselves and express our creativity in a deeper way. It's also a place on the spiritual path, I think, where you could say the path narrows, and we have to, as we move forward, we have to continuously become more conscious of things. And this is when we have to be more conscious of the relationships that are supporting us versus the ones that are trying to drag us down. Because when we're at that place, wanting to move into something that's more meaningful and possibly outside of the mainstream, most of us have people around us who are trying to pull us back in. You know, it's like, come on back into the herd.
Be safe here.
And it is to fully connect with your purpose, you have to have a lot of that kind of debris cleared away. Or you could say it's like static on a radio that's always interfering with what you're sensing is true for you and what you want in your heart. So relationships are really important there. And we talk about group archetypes. In other words, how you relate to ideas of relationships, like the idea of being married as an example, or being an employee or an employer or a manager or a spiritual teacher versus a spiritual learner. I mean, we're all learners and teachers. In terms of the way we perceive them, I think marriage is a good example where there are many stories of people living together and just doing fine, so they decide to get married and then everything falls apart. They've shifted from the singles archetype to the married archetype, and people have different expectations of what marriage means. Rather than being two single people in a relationship, two married people is a different thing. So there could be conflict there. And that the potential for conflict can exist in any of those areas, like being a manager or being an employee, being a supporter of others, being compassionate towards others. So again, it's all developing more depth. But he's saying, yes, I love relationships. he's
a very
got his head on
relationship
my
kind of
shoulder. He's very sweet. Anyhow, that's we're starting to go, and again, just we're going deeper and deeper, really, into the journey.
And week 9 is neutralizing conflicts and forgiveness. And this is a course, a rare course that combines both coaching and healing and spiritual coaching and healing, in-depth spiritual coaching and holistic healing. And part of it is neutralizing conflicts. As Jane said, this course focuses on relationships. And we have another method about that we teach that week about neutralizing conflicts with other people that are challenging in different ways. And we also go into forgiveness a couple ways that are very practical when you're ready, and you must be ready to forgive. It's not something you can force on yourself because you know it's a good thing. And it doesn't mean you're releasing someone else from doing something they did that was transgressing or your own transgressions, but it also relates to karma, because we're here to sometimes deal with certain relationships that may be patterns throughout even lifetimes. And so learning how to forgive may be a core part of that journey that we're on, and how to do that in practical ways, and what it is and what it's not, and effective ways to do it, and being in group support. A lot of the processes are so profound in the labs when we practice these techniques, like neutralizing conflicts or the 7 levels of healing, muscle testing, etc. Because you have this group support. There's something about the energy of a group when two or more are gathered. So that's why a lot of remarkable breakthroughs that people have with their life, things they've struggled with maybe for years. It can be health issues or financial issues or relationship issues, just suddenly are resolved. And it's just quite remarkable. And it happens very regularly, even though, quote, you're learning how to do the techniques. In the process, you have these wonderful transformations and progress. So you progress on these, as Jane said, spiritual activations and stages we mentioned earlier. Jane, anything else about conflicts or forgiveness before we go on?
No, I think I'm ready. We can go into.
We can go on. Yeah, we teach a whole course on this. All right, here we go. Week 10 of 12.
Yeah, and now as we're going into the higher stages of development, we're also going into archetypal levels of our awareness. Like we have personal archetypes, group archetypes, and here we're talking about societal archetypes, and really more addressed towards the latter stages. You could say the 6th stage, which is the third eye opening to our intuition, and could say integrating again. As we're moving forward, we're integrating a broader and broader perspective on reality, which is interesting when you think, for instance, of ecology and how some people can't grasp why we shouldn't just plunder the planet. It just amazes me.
Yeah.
But their awareness, they're in a very rudimentary stage of development where they don't have the broadness of view to even grasp it, which I think is interesting. And it's helpful for me in relation to having more compassionate towards people. It also is helpful for us if we're looking at how we expand and our perspectives on the way that we view things expand. So you could say that's a societal issue, is ecology. Finances, the educational system, it relates a lot to systems, the IRS, how we relate to policing, these issues that are coming up quite a bit in society now, where people are in very different positions toward them, with some people just not understanding the value of looking at something in a broader way or going into more depth, as in the idea of policing. Where why is it that we can't have people who are really focusing more on what an issue is, like if they're addressing someone with mental health problems, having someone whose training is in combat almost is not the right person. So societal archetypes are very interesting. Also, people can have issues like I remember one time there was a fellow we knew who continuously had problems with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. And he would be audited all the time, and he would be resisting and fighting, and there was a block there. And the point is, actually, even in those broader levels, if we can clear the block so that we can be more centered and balanced in relation to how we perceive those things, then it can change everything. So all of his problems actually could go away if he was in a more balanced place.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean there aren't problems with the IRS or these institutions,
No.
because of course they are, and there's injustices and so forth, but it's just in terms of how you personally relate to them.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you're clearing for your evolution.
Right. Yeah, and we talk about the shift from the competitive plane, the plane where people see themselves as victims of forces that are greater than themselves, to recognizing that we are creators and that we are powerful. Then we have a different perspective on what's possible for us and how to go about moving in the direction that we want to go in.
Mm-hmm. And that takes us to week 11, where we teach analog marking. That's an NLP process, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a way of dealing with nonverbal language, which I know some of this gets jargony, but basically language that's not words, but how you use words, the tone, the speed, the hand gestures, the breathing, all these things reveal quite a bit to help you understand yourself and other people. We also go into marketing if you wanted to learn about marketing or communication skills, which is a lot of what marketing is, if you want to build a practice or enhance a practice. And we have a whole library of about 25 hours of previous recordings, very targeted things to know about how to market and communicate if you want to build or enhance a practice. So Jane, we could go on to the week 12.
Right, which is organizing sessions. So in each course, we generally have one class that is focused on marketing, which is really about how you communicate who you are and what you're offering to others. And organizing sessions, just tips for effective management of sessions and conducting of sessions. So we're putting all the pieces together now. Action plans for looking at the big picture when we're working with people. It's interesting thinking about it now. People have different goals as coaches. I think healers are generally looking in one direction, but as a coach, some people are looking to have people who follow them and know that they're the leader. And what we're aiming for with coaching is self-actualization, is helping people to self-actualize. People who maybe aren't able to move forward effectively towards the things that they want to create, like a person who maybe would want to write a book. And I think Philip mentioned we've written many books and have actually a library of materials also that come with the program. But it is, how do you help a person to be self-actualizing? And that is built right into the course. So action plans are part of it. And as you can see, probably looking at the whole thing, we're addressing both, well, what do you do if you're stressed? We have healing techniques. And then what do you do if you want to create a whole new life for yourself? If you realize, well, gee, I'm not going in the right direction. We address both the big picture and the immediate picture. So back to who we are, why we're here and where we're going. It all fits together, and it's magical. I think
It is.
It really is.
It really is. It works very synergistically. The sum being more than the parts. And to show that, we're going to do a live demonstration here with one of our checklists. We mentioned the muscle testing checklist, current lessons with demonstrating the reframing and anchoring with the soul with one of our students and wonderful colleagues. Bianca's here, and Jane is going to take her through that.
Right.
Bianca, welcome aboard here. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Philip. Good to see you, Jane. Thank you for inviting me today.
Oh, thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome.
This is something what we're going to be demonstrating. Also, you can follow along with something maybe that you're experiencing too, and just have your own experience along with observing what this process does. So Bianca, just out of curiosity, for starting, did you have something in mind that you might want to clear? Something fairly simple.
Fairly simple.
Or if you don't, I could also go to the current lesson checklist and
see what comes up.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Last week, I kind of mentioned to my mom what I'm trying to do as far as how I'm going to form my practice. And I don't really get a whole lot of emotional support from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she gave me like some feedback, whatever. And then last night I was talking to her and she just came at me with all this negativity of, I need to be licensed and it's not going to work. And she just gave me no encouragement at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it just was like, okay, it's like we have a very fractured relationship anyway, but I was trying to involve her more in my
Mhm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just back to the point again where I don't want anything to do with her,
Mm-hmm.
because like every time I talk to her, it's always a lecture. It's always she's a psychologist, and it's like she's giving me a session as a therapist.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
it's like, I'm your daughter. It's like, I don't need this. It's like,
It's that movie What About Bob, where he's always giving him his kids little psychology sessions. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So I guess for me, it's trying to find ways to deal with her without her pushing every single one of my buttons, because by the end of our conversation,
Mhm.
it's just like,
Well,
it
that
just,
would be, in other words, what it is that is pushing your buttons is the issue.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
exactly.
so when you focus
It's like
on,
she says she's not trying to pick on me, but that's exactly what it feels like.
mm-hmm,
Right.
right.
Because it's just like so much negativity. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's like, how was your day? How are you doing? It's just immediately she goes into attack mode. And it's just
Right.
like,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think we
So
get
what
that.
do you feel then when that happens? I mean, what do you feel emotionally?
it just, it puts me in a negative emotional state.
Mm-hmm. Well, more specifically, frustration, anger,
It
anxiety,
makes
stress,
me sad.
sadness.
It makes
Mm-hmm.
me sad. It makes me angry that I feel like she totally disrespects me or doesn't, um, like I said, she's never given me any emotional support. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really looking for that from her now because I've never had it before. So I don't expect her to change in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
it's just to encourage me or
Mm-hmm.
show
Right.
me
Yeah.
she
So,
cares.
right. So, the sadness, where do you feel that sadness in your body?
Well, I feel it like after I got off the phone with her, it's like I felt it in my heart. I felt it like in my side. I felt it in my
Mhm.
back. It
Mm-hmm.
was just
Mm-hmm.
like, be calm, be calm. Let me eat dinner because I was about to eat dinner, and let me eat
Mm-hmm.
dinner and let me like meditate and connect with the higher sources to
Right.
like
Yeah. So let's say, what do you feel in your heart?
for her for now.
What do you feel, like you said, when you feel it in your body? Is it
Oh
tightness? Is
yeah,
it
it was
restriction?
like
Heat? I
it
mean,
was a lot of tension, a lot of um tightness.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So how tight is it on a scale of 1 to 10?
it was up there. It was like about a 9.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
And how high, how strong is the sadness?
it was it was like about a 20.
Mhm.
Well, right now, because we're working with
Right now,
It's high.
right now
uh-huh.
today it's like maybe about a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. And the anger, when you focus on the anger?
Out of 10.
anger is also about a 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's come way down since
Mm-hmm. Right.
meditated and connected with the higher beings and my
Mm-hmm.
spirit guides and all that. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay. So, would you like to do the reframing and anchoring to clear it?
sure.
And so for
Mhm.
others, you can just focus on anything you might be experiencing that you'd want to change and measure it so you have something to have a distinction between before and after.
1 to 10.
And what we often do, we have that process we call soul centering, where we connect to the truth in the heart. And what I thought I would do is just a very brief, kind of abbreviated shortcut. I have a shortcut I'm going to use to get to that that place of opening to the love in your heart. So does that sound good, Bianca?
That does sound good, Jane. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe first, before we do that, why don't we anchor what this is, reframing and anchoring. Reframing is shifting perspective, and anchoring is anchoring. We're going to anchor it in two places in the body. And an easy way to do it, what I found, is you use your left hand. One of the points will be putting left hand on the left leg, right hand on the right leg. It doesn't matter where you put it, although there are subtleties we could work with later. But so just measure again, just focus on whatever the issue is. This is Bianca and anyone who wants to kind of try it with us, and just bring that up in your body and in your energy, and put your left hand on your left leg. Just hold it there and continue to focus on that sadness and that anger for Bianca. Anchoring it there. And then release it. And now for connecting with that heart energy, just everybody, you can close your eyes, assuming you're in a safe place for that. And just start breathing in love and light from the universe. If you believe in angels, you can invite them to support you. Breathing it in and releasing as you exhale. And focusing on something, this is a shortcut, focusing on someone or something that you love with all of your heart and soul. I mean, it could be a pet, it could be a flower, could be a person, could be an experience.
A higher being.
It can be anything. Yeah, a higher being, just something that brings out that love, gratitude, something you're grateful for in your life. It's just something to open that energy in your heart. So Bianca, can you feel that as you focus on?
I can.
So what did you focus on?
I focused on like being in a meadow, like with flowers and like a stream, and
wow, that sounds beautiful.
Lots of trees, and just as you know, purple is my color, so a lot of purple.
Wonderful.
I brought in Lady Puerta. I brought in my Lady of the Lake.
Brought in lots of things. So
yeah,
just breathing in that love and that beautiful energy from that place. And then just taking a nice full breath of it and putting your right hand on your right leg, anchoring that energy there. I can feel it myself. That sounded beautiful. And then release that. And then just let your mind relax for a moment and put both hands on both spots, the left hand on the left leg, right hand on the right leg at the same time. Then release the left leg, your hand on the left leg, which is the one you want to release. And then release the right hand. And Bianca, what do you notice now when you focus again on your situation with your mother?
So I always seem to go to a half. It's never a 1. It's never a 0. It's just like right in between.
Almost there.
But that's
almost there.
Yeah, that's good. You're integrating.
So,
so sadness and anger both are at a half.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. And so that's a wonderful thing to to have that done. But the real important thing then is with this shift in vibration, what does your heart and soul say to you about this situation?
To try and deal with her with more love and compassion. Because she's It's funny. She told us as the kids a long time ago that she never wanted to be like our grandmother because my grandmother was very harsh and very critical and always judgmental, and she's exactly like that. And she was saying, if I ever get like grandma, it's like take me in the backyard and shoot me. And it's like, oh, I've been there like so many times where I want to take her in the backyard and shoot her. It's like,
Don't do that though.
Right.
it's like, calm down. It's like,
Right.
calm down. It's like, relax. So
Right.
yeah. So it's like now, and a classmate had told me when dealing with her to try and go to the mountaintop before I have a conversation with her.
Soulful place.
Yeah.
And it's a little more difficult when she calls because I can't get into that.
Don't have time. Right? Can I call you back in 5 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I gotta do some soul centering before I talk to you. It's like, yeah.
But
But,
what I wonder is, do you believe that she really has the consciousness to understand?
Yes and no. I mean,
Because some people they
when I-
just
when I-
don't.
when-
Some
when
people
I-
are
when
never
I-
going to change.
well, yeah. Well, it's like when I talk to her about like the processes that we're doing and things like that. A lot of it she understands. Like as far as the EFT, because she's done like a lot of EFT with a lot of her clients and things like that. She's really holistic, but there's something still within her
Right.
that's always judgmental and criticizing and
Right. So that's what you can expect.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like I said, I know that's never going to change for her. That's something that she has to deal with if she chooses to, and
yeah, and just have that
so
perspective
I
of
just,
not
I just
expecting.
have to,
Right.
it's like I just have to accept
Right.
her as that's just how she's always going to be, so to speak. So
And can you do that?
Yeah, I can accept that. It just makes me not want to deal with her as much.
Right, and that would be fine too.
But when
Maybe.
when I do,
Yeah.
when I do to try and have a conversation with her from being more soul centered. Yeah.
More loving
Yeah.
and compassionate, as you said, and
Right.
patient.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my parents were very against. They're both gone now, but they're very against what I do. And my father, he would say things like, "Well, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard." It's like, "Well, thanks, Dad."
Thanks for the support, Dad.
Right.
No, so it's like
He
last
actually
time
he
came at me
took
like,
me out of they took me out of their will.
Yeah. So she came at me last night with, well, what would happen, because trauma, you anything can set somebody off when they've had trauma. And I was like, I'm quite aware of that. I understand that. She goes, so what would happen if somebody, you're doing your treatment, whatever, and then like later on they commit suicide, then the family's gonna come back and they're gonna sue you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. This is what I'm
Gotta go
hear
now.
So what would be the loving and compassionate response to that then?
It would be, so what I do is I just kind of like take the phone away. I kind of put the phone on the floor.
Just kind of let it go by you and
let her say what she's gonna say. I'll come back like maybe 5 minutes later, pick it up and be like, okay, you know what? Okay, I hear you.
Right. Just leave it at that.
That's good. I
And
like that. I hear you. That sounds like it might work.
That way she doesn't feel like I'm ignoring her like I am.
Right.
But it's like, something just to like pacify her in a way, to let her feel like she's
been
point
heard,
or
right?
what she's talking about is being validated.
Right.
So, it is what it is, type of a thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
And I think we all have challenges like that, most of us. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
As a note, with the reframing and anchoring, it's done in rounds. If you've done EFT, it's the same thing where if something changes but it's not completely gone, you can do another round. Or if you want to boost the positive energy, you can do another round to do that. So it is very versatile that way.
Yeah.
And also very effective.
Right. It takes
So
a while.
thank you, Bianca.
Thanks, Bianca.
you're
And
welcome.
it takes a while to integrate, especially these deep relationships with parents and so forth. But if you keep going at it with support and learning the tools, it can be quite remarkable that suddenly you're just not, the buttons aren't pushed anymore. It may not be just immediately on and off from one time to the next, but over time it can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Bianca.
Yeah. I'm curious if anyone else did it and wanted to say something about the experience.
If anyone else wants to share something, go for it. We'd love to hear from you. This is a good time to add it in if you're going to.
Well, if you
Okay.
want, it's not mandatory, but just thought sometimes
sometimes people want to say
people have
something.
such interesting experiences. I
it's
enjoy
interesting.
hearing that.
Yeah. So
Yes, wait, Mayu's.
Mayu's okay.
Did you
Go
want
ahead,
to say
Mayu.
something?
Hi. So I wasn't really sure if we were doing this in support of her or if we were doing it for our own personal thing. So at first I thought it was maybe we do it on our own personal kind of scenario.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then eventually I thought, well, maybe sort of just like a just support for Bianca. So
Yeah.
I ended up doing that. And I think I kind of did it wrong because I didn't release the hand. So I'm not really sure because I have never done reframing or anchoring. But as she's described, I already had in my mind what was like my beautiful sort of loving space. But as she's describing hers, I totally transformed into that space and I felt like frolicking and it was wonderful.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I liked it too.
Yes. And so I didn't really experience, let's say, any kind of shift per se. If anything, it was just more of just experiencing that.
Yeah,
just support. So
and that's beautiful too. Yeah. When I work with clients, I always, like if we're doing EFT, I'll tap along or I'll do the reframing and anchoring along. And I do think it makes a difference for people. So thank you for doing that.
Usually what happens a lot of times is when somebody's describing their soulful place, everybody kind of goes there sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that was a beautiful description.
Energetically connected.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you can bring in other people, spirit guides, so it gets kind of fun.
Yeah.
Once you feel more spiritually and energetically connected to your classmates and things like that, especially when we do lab, and then when you get study practice partners where you practice on your own. So it's really good. Plus you get a lot of support. Everybody's very supportive of you and whatnot, just because you are dealing with a whole lot of, as they say, woo-woo stuff.
Right.
So yeah,
that's true. Thanks, Bianca.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so that little mini demonstration gives you kind of a taste of how the healing and the coaching is explored. We wanted to do an abbreviated version, but I think we still made some interesting progress and insights. And thanks, Bianca. That was actually a pretty deep thing to address in a short period of time. You did a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phillip. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being vulnerable too.
Thank my higher powers, my healing guides.
Lady of the Lake.
Just in concluding here, a couple more things.
All the beauties.
About the course, it also has a bonus of this Heart of Success marketing library. You have access to over 20 recordings and handouts, and we can help you individually on that if you're interested in a practice or how to enhance your business.
Well, plus there's a big manual and books and audios and there are video demonstrations that are already there for people to watch. A lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of materials that you'll have access to for a lifetime. And some of the benefits of taking this upcoming program is you're going to have a more fulfilling life. It's actually a lifetime of savings. The time and energy you're going to save with mental stress, probably physical problems. People have healed in the program all kinds of weight issues, anxiety issues, allergies, chronic back pain, and
Fibromyalgia.
it goes on and on
All
over the
kinds of
years.
things.
So that, I mean, what's that cost of healthcare? You may have a career enhancement or a new business. Your spiritual development will be accelerated big time with a lot of support. You're going to learn these tools like we were mentioning. Some of them are original to this course, so you can't find them anywhere else. You're going to have a loving, supportive community with people like Bianca and many other learners. And this creates what we sometimes call mutual awakenings, a we space, a we presence. It's very wonderful and transformational, and there's a lot more to it. Jane, do you want to mention anything else about the course? I have a few other wrap-up things to mention to people.
I can't think of anything right now.
Well, it is a way, the course is a direct way to learn core elements of self-mastery through holistic coaching and healing. They're profound tools and methods that have been tested over the years. And it's going to give you a lot more confidence and competence going forward. And if this is something that interests you, we encourage you to connect with us, and I'll show you how. You may be on our website already. It's tinyurl.com/HOL coach. That's an abbreviated URL. Or call us directly at our office if you're interested in the program. There's payment plans. There's different ways to do the course in terms of financing it. Our number, our home office is 805-934-1238 in California, 805-934-1238, or set up a session for us, an appointment, a personal session. You can go to our website, that tinyurl.com/HOL coach, which explains the spiritual holistic coach healer certification training, which at this time begins soon on June 13th. And it's a unique program. It's a very effective program. If you're drawn to it and you're following your heart, we would love to have you join us. Jane, anything you'd like to add?
No, I guess not. I just think, of course, for us, we really appreciate the opportunity to share with you.
Right.
Another thing, and after I say no, I guess not. We care. You know, we're here. We want to answer people's questions. We have ways of making ourselves available. So we want to be sure everybody gets what they want from the program, and I think people understand that about it.
They do.
It's personal to us.
It is. We love teaching. We've been doing it for years. It just keeps getting better and better. We add more things. It becomes more effective. And the people who come to it, it's just incredible being with people like Bianca.
Wonderful people.
And it's a small group. It's 15 to 20 people. So you'll get to know them. You'll find support partners. You'll do a lot of deep healing and coaching. And it's fun and enjoyable and quite transformational. You know, you'll gain a lot of self-mastery.
Yep.
So until next time, please connect with us if you'd like to know more and like to join us or considering ways of doing that at the 805-934-1238. Call us that number or go to the coaching page, the description page, tinyurl.com/HOL coach. Until next time, it's been great being with you.
Thanks again, Bianca. Bye-bye, everyone.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Philip, for inviting me to participate.
Love being with you again, as always. Much love to you and everyone else for who are here live and those watching the replay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.